Waiver wired, yeah. Ooh. Welcome. Today, the first player I want to talk about is Isaiah Davis. We have a position we're going to be taking on Isaiah Davis. Just remember the name. Isaiah Davis. He is going to be the featured player to talk about that you should be picking up on the waiver wire, and we'll get into it right now. But Isaiah Davis is not the first person you should be considering picking up on the waiver wire. That is obviously Michael Carter. Michael Carter is a very solid running back, right? Michael Carter is a good, clean football player. There's nothing else to say about Michael Carter except he can play football pretty good. He's not great. He's not exceptional. He's Michael Carter, right? Michael Carter's doing Michael Carter things. This is a solid football player with a 50th percentile speed and about average athleticism overall. He has nice agility for a small running back, doesn't have a lot of burst. But the most important thing with Michael Carter is he is getting the touches. He is the starter. And he told us he was the starter, and we're like, well, maybe DeMarcado is going to get... No. If he comes out and says, hey, I'm coming up from the practice squad, and this happens all the time, the guys that are on the team, on the 53-man roster, are not always the best players at their position. They're the best mix of quality football players and versatility. So DeMarcado has special teams ability and pass catching ability, and so he gets the nod in the 53-man roster when James Conner and Trey Benson are healthy and ready to go. But when they need a running back to carry the mail, to be the primary back that they trust to take 15-plus touches, sometimes that's not the guy that happened to be on the roster through the first 5 weeks because he was versatile. Sometimes it's a guy in the practice squad who is actually best equipped to be a primary back. And then it's just very helpful to us as fantasy gamers when that guy comes out and says, I am the guy. So we can just rush out and grab that guy off the waiver wire and sidestep the DeMarcado. And then poor DeMarcado. I mean, can we just pour one out for DeMarcado? This guy works his butt off. To be that versatile, you have to work very hard. And then to have a goal line fumble in a crucial game where it becomes an embarrassing loss and you cost yourself potentially millions of dollars. I mean, it's super demoralizing for him. I hope you didn't play him. Even if you did, he gave you like the big play that actually scored some fantasy points. But Michael Carter is the guy. Michael Carter, if he's still available in shallow leagues, everyone in deep leagues scooped him before Sunday at 1 o'clock. But if you're in a shallow league and he didn't get scooped, I would put about 80% of your budget down on him. He is the starter for the rest of the season, and he has all-purpose skills. None of them are that good. Right? Like, at best, he's Devontae Freeman. At worst, he's Bilal Powell. He is a guy who has opportunity at the running back position, and that's what we care about, right? That's what matters. Who I really want to talk about at the running back position is Isaiah Davis, and we will. We are talking Isaiah Davis at some point, okay? We're going to get to him. But the beauty is, no one's prioritizing Isaiah Davis because he got very few touches, which is great news, right? Great, just great. I love that. I love that. When all the forces are at play to push a guy up, all under the radar, where you have to kind of put the pieces together, and then we can kind of put the pieces together on this show, but your league mates have no idea, that means that you can go and scoop multiple guys. You can put bids on Michael Carter if he happens to be available. You can put bids on Kamani Vidal, who we're going to talk about. But then you can also scoop the best value, the most upside for the dollar in fantasy football right now. That's Isaiah Davis. Just want to say that. But we can't talk about Isaiah Davis before talking about Kamani Vidal. Kamani Vidal Sassoon. And in honor of Kamani Vidal Sassoon, Let's just pull up his profile on Player Profiler. We celebrated him at the draft house. He was drafted when the draft was in Michigan, in Detroit. I remember where I was when Kamani Vidal was drafted. We celebrated. This guy has great athleticism. He's comparable to Pacheco in a good way. And unfortunately, he's on a team that has lost their elite tackles, so they can't run the ball like they want to. Like the pass rate over expectation for the Chargers is as high as any team in the league. So this isn't what we thought. This is the Harbaugh ball, right? This isn't that, right? If Joe Alt was healthy, and this it's every year with the Chargers, right? It's every year with the Chargers. They lose multiple key pieces on the offensive line, and we always look up and there's Pimpkins is in there. Like Pimpkins always finds a way in there because Slater's out, Alt's out, whoever's out, now both are out. And it's all about Pipkins, and it's like, God. So when Pipkins is the key player on the offensive line, Vidal and Haskins and everyone else, Hampton never had a spike week. Why? Pipkins. That's why. Regardless, just like with Michael Carter, you want the guy that's going to get the touches. Who's that guy going to be? Is it going to be the running back that Harbaugh had an affinity for at Michigan, Hassan Haskins, or will it be Kamani Vidal, the guy that actually has the athleticism and the big playability? I believe in rational Harbaugh. Rational Harbaugh is going to go Vidal because he's a better football player, better all-purpose runner, gives you a better chance to win, more big plays in any given touch. So I'm going Vidal here. Okay, that's my, and so if you need specific FAAB guidance, I would say even in shallow leagues, I'd put 1 or 2% down depending on the demand you think there will be. And then I think you only need to go like 10% in deeper leagues because there's all this uncertainty and there's been some strong takes that it's going to be Haskins. And that, again, this running game does not have the upside that it did in August. So I think Vidal 10%, right? If you have a $1,000 budget in FAAB bidding and you put down 100 on Vidal, you should feel pretty comfortable doing that. 110, 90, something in that neighborhood should be fine. And hopefully you get him. I mean, ideally this week you come away with Vidal and Isaiah Davis, and that would be a giant win. That would be a giant win. And again, in honor of Kamani Vidal, I've got the Vidal Sassoon shampoo haircut. As you can see, my family calls it my toupee hairstyle. They're like, oh, Dad, you're wearing your toupee again. So yes, my hair looks like a toupee. And I was actually at my college reunion at Northwestern. I mentioned this on a previous podcast. We crushed the University of Louisiana Lafayette, just destroyed them. Though they have some receivers that look pretty good, but just not against our incredible Northwestern defense. Just what we're known for, right? Great secondary. But we won! Hey, we won! And it was great. And so hopefully you like the Vidal Sassoon look here. It's going all El Natural with my toupee. And it was funny because the guy sitting in front of us at the game was wearing a toupee, but we couldn't say it. So I did it. I pulled up a text and I just text toupee alert, with the sirens. And it's just funny to see your friends when they get the text and then them looking around trying to find the toupee. It's funny, right? It's funny. I don't know. Let me know. Podfather@rotowonderworld.com. You can always email me. Is that rude? Right? Was it rude to do that behind this person's back? We were making fun of his hair, but we didn't do it to his face. He never knew. Like he walked away from that game, never knew. We knew about his toupee or that there was any chuckling at all. Is that wrong? Was that wrong to do that to that poor gentleman? He's trying, right? He's making an effort. Like he's going above and beyond, man. He's trying. He cares. So in that way, I respect it. I respect the hustle from the toupee man, but it was just too obvious. It was too obvious, and this is essentially. I mean, you could see why this looks like a toupee. It's my hair's weird. Weird here. But look at this jersey. This is a brand new jersey, too. Look at this jersey. Fast draft jersey from Texas Mike. So thanks to Texas Mike for this jersey. It looks fantastic. It's got Kelly on the back. I love it. I really do. Texas Mike's my man. He's also an investor in all of Roto Underworld. So, the investors in Roto Underworld, they get the upside of both Player Profiler and Fast Draft. And we actually have an open investment round happening right now. So, props to Mike. I think in this round, what I've decided to do is all investors are going to get gear. I think I didn't do that in the last round. I was kicking myself. This round, absolutely. Podfather at rotounderworld.com. More information about that. Or just to talk about whether or not my friends and I are rude when we go to sports games. And I don't know. So it's an open question. Open debate. Who is the number 3 running back to be bidding on? It is Kendre Miller. Now, I know a lot of you are going to prioritize Miller above Kamani Vidal, and please do that if you want. Certainly in the FAAB bidding, you're going to have to bid more to get Miller. Everyone's talking about Miller. He's getting a higher rush share than Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara looks dusty. I get it. This is a very complicated situation. This is why I wanted to have a podcast and do the podcast this year talking about waiver wire pickups, because it's very interesting with Kendre Miller. There's equal forces pushing and pulling on Kendre Miller, right? It's very complicated. Yes, Kamara is dusty. And yes, Kendre Miller has juice. But Kendre Miller is a complete zero in the passing game. And he really needs Alvin Kamara to pick up an injury, which we don't want, in order to reach his ceiling. But what is that ceiling? Well, that ceiling isn't that high because this is the Saints. And we now have a Taysom Hill problem. Taysom Hill had 6 carries. All right. So even if Kamara gets hurt, it's going to be Hill and Miller. It's not going to be even the opportunity share that Michael Carter's enjoying. So if you're in a specialist backfield with the Saints, how much value does that have? Well, it actually has more value than you might think, because you need to look at the Saints' schedule. They are still scheduled to play Carolina twice and Miami. And then in week 17, they play Tennessee. So just because this is a bad team doesn't mean they're not going to be scoring a lot of points. They could score a lot of points with this schedule. It's very soft. So it's like the team is bad, the schedule's good. The player himself, Kendre Miller, is the best runner, but he's like the 3rd best receiver. He really needs an injury. I mean, it's just like, it's so not straightforward to just go grab Kendre Miller and think this is the guy I'm going to flex. This is a guy that's going to be playable in my RB2 spot later on this season. There's no guarantees that that's true. That's true. I think a better value is Isaiah Davis. So let's talk about Isaiah Davis. Isaiah Davis, very interesting for a bunch of reasons. He's good. I think he's better than Kendre Miller. He's just a better player. He's a really good player. And this guy, he's comparable to Tyler Algier. Everyone that watches him play is like, oh my God, this guy runs like, he's trying to rescue his family from kidnappers. That's like, he's like Liam Neeson in Taken, right? I have a particular set of skills. And his skills are just running hard, right? But he is good enough in the passing game. I think he's better in the passing game than Kendre Miller. He's a better player than Kendre Miller. But you might say, oh, well, Breece Hall and the Jets aren't any good either. So what are we talking about? Well, Breece Hall has said some things after these games that lead you to believe that he's not going to be in New York very long. He's talking about the time is ticking, that his only has a few years to earn his lifetime salary that he needs to earn to set up his family for success and generational wealth and all these things. And it's like, whoa, man, this is very deep. What are you getting into here? What are we talking about? Right? And so you realize, you think about it, well, what do you think he's talking about? Well, it could be that there's a whisper campaign happening inside the organization that he's on the trade block, that they're in conversations. And then you see, a team like the Chargers, a playoff contender, is in desperate need of a running back. They're staring at Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal. As much as I love Kamani Vidal and I love Vidal Sassoon and I love shampoo and I love natural wavy hair that I can just shake my head and I'm just so fun. Oh, God, look at me. What am I doing? So there's a chance that Kamara gets traded, but there's also a chance that Breece Hall gets traded. And also, Breece Hall left the game with an injury, right? So he fumbled and then left the game after the same play. It's always a bummer, man, when you fumble and you get hurt. And I don't remember the name of the player, but he was a small player. I want to say it was Darren Sproles. Correct me if I'm wrong. On the Eagles. Hey, let me know in the chat, everybody. Email me again, podfather@rotoworld.com. Do I have that wrong? I think it was Darren Sproles on the Eagles. I think he got thrown up into the air and hit multiple times and had like a helicopter situation. And then so he broke a bone when he got hit. And then he broke a different bone, a different body part. He either tore an ACL and separated his shoulder or tore his ACL and broke his collarbone when he landed. Anyway, he got kicked up in the air with a torn ACL, landed on his collarbone, broke his collarbone, tore his ACL, and fumbled. So I think that was the worst play in terms of outcomes and injuries by anybody ever. And it's just a bummer because it's Darren Sproles, who was electric, amazing. One of the best college running backs of all time. If you're too young to remember Darren Sproles, go to Darren Sproles highlights or Darren Sproles and Kansas State. And wow, right? Wow. And now, speaking of players like Darren Sproles, my fifth priority on the waiver wire this week, Brashard Smith. Oh, yes. You might say, 4 touches. Just 4 touches. Yeah, 4 touches in 6 snaps. And he was 3 for 3 in the passing game. Think about that. What's that yards per route run? What are the targets per route run? I mean, he broke the stat, right? He broke that metric. And he's the most explosive back on the roster. So if we pull up Brashard Smith, good brush for my hair, right? Just need the so flowing and feathery, majestic. Brashard Smith has cool hair too. Runs a 4.39, and he's on the Chiefs. And what is the Chiefs' great weakness? The backfield, right? Kareem Hunt. And Pacheco is not happening, man. I mean, I thought Pacheco had more upside than this. I thought Pacheco was going to erase the ghost of Kareem Hunt. No, there was no exorcism of Kareem Hunt. Anything but. Kareem Hunt's out here scoring multiple touchdowns. I thought what Pacheco would do to Hunt would be very similar to what Hampton did to Najee Harris. But turns out Kareem Hunt has stayed away from the fireworks. But Brashard Smith, they're warming him up. Right? This is Woody Marks all over again. You're going to see the snap share go up and up and up and up. So you have to get Brashard Smith now. Not now. Now is the time to get Brashard Smith. Absolutely. I would say in a deep league, 3 to 5%, and you'll be able to lock him in. And then even in shallow leagues, put like 1% or 0, whatever it is, and make sure you're rostering Brashard Smith moving forward. I would prioritize Brashard Smith even above Tajay Spears because he's like Tajay Spears, only on a good team. That's the difference. But Spears is going to have a bigger and bigger role because the Titans are incentivized to evaluate their roster for 2026. That said, it's not like Pollard's going to just not be involved. You'd have to have like a clash with the coaching staff, which I think is maybe what happened last week with Calvin Ridley, because Calvin Ridley roared back this week. Tony Pollard, though, I think of Tony Pollard as a real company man. I think he's just going to stick it out, and he's going to just keep doing his 12 fantasy points per game. So I'm not as excited about Spears as I am Brashard Smith, but you still have to go after Tajay Spears, like 3%, 2 or 3% in a deep league. Try to get him rostered. He has some upside. I mean, Hassan Haskins, you should roster him if you can't get the other guys I just mentioned. Hassan Haskins is a guy on a team who's going to get carries. But I'm a little bit more intrigued by like a Will Shipley. So I mean, this is kind of a tea leaves week, like reading the tea leaves with Breece Hall. What the hell is he talking about? So, Breece Hall getting existential on us. Yeah, I only have so much time left. This guy's like 24. Will Shipley. Will Shipley is interesting. I like him. He's a dynamic playmaker. And this knee injury, man, this Saquon Barkley knee injury, everyone that drafted him is not happy about it. They know that he's not 100%. And Will Shipley is the one running back on that team. I mean, A.J. Dillon, come on, man. Get out of here, please. Please. Will Shipley has some size. He could be an every down. He won't be. But he will be the back that scores points, that actually scores fantasy points in that team if Barkley were to miss time. Will Shipley has juice. I like him. If Corum, Ollie Gordon, Brian Robinson, if these guys get dropped, you need to pick them up. I mean, those are your best handcuffs right now. Corum, Gordon, and Brian Robinson. We're going to hear from Brian Robinson at some point. I don't want to. I love seeing Christian McCaffrey out there getting 22 carries. But, come on. How long? Right? Well, Breece Hall's already concerned, right? We'll see. And in terms of stashes, I know that some people are stashing Taj Brooks, because Chase Brown is it's not his fault, man. We've talked about this. Sometimes when you lose the quarterback, it's not the number one receiver that suffers most. It's the number one running back. And I certainly don't blame. It's just, man, what a bummer. Chase Brown would have been great with Burrow, and with anyone else, he's just woof. I will spoiler alert the quarterback. In Superflex leagues, in very deep, like 2 quarterback leagues, I would stash Mike White. Browning is underwear is Browning. That's what's happening. Yep. So I think Browning's time is ticking. Also, right? Tick, 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 tick. A lot of clocks ticking on players and their playing time and their careers. But Mike White's the best guy left on that roster. He's on the practice squad, but he could be like one of these running backs. He could be like the Michael Carter. That's what he is, right? He's the Michael Carter of running backs. Mike White needs an injury on top of another injury. He's a guy behind the guy. That's Michael Carter, and that is Mike White. So, super flex. Chase and Higgins are there. So, if it's Mike White, I think he's better than Browning. I don't know why. He was a late addition to the practice squad because he was cut, right? And I think he was on Hard Knocks, right? I think he was a Hard Knocks guy. So he got cut during Hard Knocks and had to pick up the pieces. So I'm glad he did. Mike White found a home. And my daughter watches Hard Knocks with me. And I told her, I was like, we will hear from Mike White again. She's like, oh, Mike White got cut. I was like, yeah, well, we will hear from him again. He has a part to play in this story yet, Frodo. Wide receiver. Okay. And you'll notice, shorter show, not as many running backs to talk about, not as many wide receivers to talk about. And you're probably preparing for me to pour some cold water on Ryan Flournoy's head. Right? You're like, oh, Ryan Flournoy went over 100 yards. But the Podfather's going to come in and say Lamb's coming back and don't point chase. I know that's what you're thinking. But my number one priority on the waiver wire this week is actually Ryan Flournoy. I would put, 2-3% in shallow leagues. Just get him on your roster. And let's say, 5 to 10% in deep leagues. This is a player that it's very conceivable you're starting him in the second half. The third receiver on Dallas is uniquely positioned to score fantasy points because this team has no defense. And they told us that. They were like, we're trading our best defenders. We're going full Bengals. That's what they decided to do. And then Flournoy posts a 32% target share, over 100 yards. If there's another injury to CeeDee Lamb once he comes back, if there's an injury to Pickens, if there's an injury to Ferguson, any of these guys, it opens up opportunities for Flournoy. I think the team has moved on from Jalen Tolbert. I thought Jalen Tolbert was a streaming option the last couple weeks just because of the team. You're chasing the points. This team puts up 40 points a week. So that's why. That's why. It's not about Flournoy's interesting in general. He has athleticism. The guy's explosive. 93rd percentile burst score. Runs the 4.4 40. Small school guy. Develops. He's about to turn 26. Finally gets an opportunity. And then boom. He's one of those guys that he was at a small school during COVID. So the fact that he's 26 years old, you have to discount that. This guy's super old. Yeah, well. Could be like an explosive Adam Thielen. Small school, finally gets an opportunity. But yeah, I feel bad for him because we're talking about seasons getting canceled and then having to, red shirt on top of red shirt, finally makes it to the league. And then things are breaking his way. So I like Flournoy a lot, and he's my number one priority. So this is one of those situations where we are point chasing. There are other situations we'll talk about later where we're not point chasing, where I would say, no. Now, Kendrick Bourne's another one, where Kendrick Bourne, what are you going to do? They don't have anybody, right? All their receivers are hurt. Don't forget, Debo's gone. Ayuk is rehabbing. No Jennings, no Pearsall, no Kittle. There's nobody, right? It's so we mentioned him as a great stash. Actually, had him not just as a stash, but as a guy you should actually pick up for like 1%, potentially play last week. So you're welcome. If I had to guess, Jennings comes back first because Jennings has it looks like these contusions. He's had multiple contusions. It's like he's just got. Overall, his body is just very sore and very beat up, but nothing super structural. It sounds like Pearsall, the knee, a little more structural, so I think maybe Jennings comes back sooner. Either way, they have to throw in San Francisco to be competitive, and Bourne is getting it done. So and they play the Bucs, right? I wouldn't prioritize Bourne this much, but they're playing the Bucs this week, and we're in bye weeks. There's only a couple teams on bye this week, but there's injuries, there's buys. So Bourne potentially very much a flex option. Don't forget about Darnell Mooney. I bet he was dropped in a bunch of leagues, even some deep leagues. You should make sure you're looking in your waiver wire. Look up Darnell Mooney. The guy had 11 targets in week 3. It's very easy to forget. He is essentially in the exact same situation as Troy Franklin. These are the number 2s with sophomore quarterbacks that were picked back-to-back in the NFL draft, and they have similar games. They're outside field stretching players that can deliver spike weeks. So I like Mooney and I like Franklin the exact same. In a shallow league, you just need to put 0 or 1%. In a deep league, we're talking 3 to 4%, and you can lock those guys in. I like Franklin. Specifically because there's going to be a displacement of targets with Sauce Gardner shadowing Sutton. And you saw Flournoy. Why did Flournoy go off? Well, why do you think? Because Pickens had his hands full. So I see Franklin as potentially being this week's Flournoy Franklin didn't put up numbers last week. He could get dropped in some leagues, especially shallow leagues. I think if you're especially in a shallow league where you need a wide receiver, Franklin gets dropped. Insta-scoop on Troy Franklin. We're just going to keep going back to Franklin. Over. It's like, I know it's a broken record with Franklin every week, but I mean, he established himself as the absolute true number 2. Mims is not a thing. Mims is never going to be a thing. Mims is not as athletic. So I'm very happy to be in on Franklin. Right? I wasn't in on him. This summer wasn't thinking that Bo Nix could support Sutton and Ingram and Mims and Franklin. But now that I've seen how the target shares and the route participation is shaking out, loving Franklin now. Isaiah Bond was the leading receiver for Cleveland. Jerry Jeudy, guys. Jerry Jeudy. If you drafted Jerry Jeudy this year at his ADP, I don't know what the hell to tell you. With Joe Flacco as his quarterback, you were sold that Joe Flacco is the answer to your prayers. He is a hack and the reason you need to be overexposed to Jerry Jeudy. Oh, God, that's just the worst analysis. As if Joe Flacco is Tom Brady of the quarterback age curve. Get out of here, man. Isaiah Bond, though, right? Led all Browns receivers in targets, but only scored 4 fantasy points. He could be dropped. Another insta-scoop because it's such a low bar to be better than Jerry Jeudy. If you're going to stream someone this week, the desperation stream of the week is Tyquan Thornton, just because they have packages for Tyquan Thornton, and they will all year, no matter what the personnel is, no matter who they have active at wide receiver, they're going to have packages for Tyquan Thornton, which is going to make deep shots from Mahomes always in his range of outcomes. So I always think the desperation stream, always now, as long as he's available, is going to be Tyquan Thornton. I'm convinced. Alec Ayominor could be dropped. Make sure you pick him up. I like seeing Higgins get some targets, but it was a blowout, so take that for what it's worth. The Panthers' offense getting better, and we talked about quarterback. I'm not even going to have a segment for quarterback. I'll just talk about quarterback. Obviously, against Dallas, the quarterback we're going to be going with, we're streaming Bryce Young, and I think Bryce Young is getting better, and you need to look out for Jalen Coker coming back. I'm excited for Jalen Coker's return. I think that this offense will be better with Jalen Coker. I'm interested in seeing what happens there. Super exciting tight end crop here because you have Harold Fannin, who, wasn't the leading receiver, clearly took a back seat to David Njoku, but we said, hey, he's very playable, and he got the touchdown. Right? All this guy does is score fantasy points. And if he is available, I think you got to pick him up. Because, again, it's just a law of the conservation of targets. There's no Cedric Tillman, and that just opens up more opportunities for Harold Fannin. There's a very interesting situation happening in Cleveland, very similar to what's happening in New York with Theo Johnson and Dan Bellinger. So Bellinger's presence has a governor on Theo Johnson. I mean, you have to know I like Theo Johnson, okay? I like Theo Johnson, certainly better than Bellinger. He's a mega athlete with size 6. I mean, this guy's a monster. You don't want to face Theo Johnson in a dark alley. You're not getting out. You're not getting out of there. They'll drag you out of there in a coma. You try to go up against Theo Johnson. This guy's a beast. Total beast. Wasn't productive in college. Don't care. So that's the debate, right? You got Theo Johnson. You got Harold Fannin. These guys are available in the majority of leagues. They're not necessarily available in tight end premium. If they are, like a Theo Johnson, you got to put 20-25% down on Theo Johnson. Harold Fannin, definitely not available in tight end premium leagues. No way. No one in tight end premium leagues is dropping Harold Fannin. But I think in deep leagues, Harold Fannin is going to continue to be interesting, especially, you see, it might be a concern that, oh, David Njoku has reestablished himself as sort of the alpha tight end. But no, what it tells me is that Dylan Gabriel loves the tight end, which everyone predicted. One of the most predictable things of all time was that Dylan Gabriel is going to use his tight ends with no Tillman, especially. And then he did. That all said, I would rather have Mason Taylor. I think Mason Taylor is a guy that in deep leagues I'd go up to 5% on. He'd be my number one target on the waiver wire because he did it again, right? He commanded targets again. He's officially the number 2 receiver. And we can no longer tout Brenton Strange. Very sad that we can't tout Brenton Strange anymore. He's now over 50% owned in Yahoo leagues and other leagues. So it's now Mason Taylor. I know they don't throw a lot in New York, but he is the number 2 there. It's tricky. I mean, with Darius Slayton getting hurt, it's wide open for Theo Johnson. It's wide open for Mason Taylor. I think the offense is a little bit better, right, with Jackson Dart in New York. I'm very conflicted. I'd like to know what you think. You can let me know in the comments on YouTube. You can email me if you're listening to the podcast. That was a tough one for me. I put Taylor above Theo Johnson just because of Bellinger's presence. But even at this moment, thinking about it, I'm not sure that was the right play. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.